Welcome to Which Side Do You Want, where we talk all things tennis. I'm your co-host, Ruffin Thornton, and I'll be joined by my good friend, James Skinner.
Unlike most tennis podcasts, we cover hot topics, from the lawns to the concrete, from the pros to the park, and all things in between. Welcome to Which Side Do You Want?
All right, welcome back, tennis and racket sport fans, to our podcast here in the wonderful studios of Another Wave Media in Chesterfield. So we're back in front of you, and we're at that time of the year where we're nearing the end of the tennis year and looking forward to the rest of the short but exciting and needful tennis off season. But in the meantime, we still got a few things to talk about. We still got a couple of things going on. We've got a couple of things like still got the WTA finals, the ATP finals.
Right. End of the year.
We've still got both the Billie Jean King Cup as well as the Davis Cup.
Yep.
So those are things that are coming off in the off season. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and talk to you today about what we've got to talk about. So, Coach, how's it going?
It's going well, Ruffin. How's it going with you, my friend?
Oh, it's doing all right.
Good.
It's day by day. Life never changes. It's always busy and it's always moving.
That's right.
But no prospects on coaching for the upcoming season next spring?
No, we're not, I'm not in that mode yet.
Not mode yet.
I'm getting there though. I'm hitting at it, but things look good. I got a few things that kind of tell me that, and I'm knock on wood.
Right.
But should have a different type of season this year.
Okay, well, good. I'll be rooting for you. If you need any help.
Yo, yeah, hey, always, man. Always use you. You come on in. Come on over. Coach Ruff.
Yeah, Coach me. All right. So before we get to the tournaments, so last week we had some really good results from players that we like to follow, people that look more or less like us. First one is a shout out we want to give out to Ben Shelton for his first tour level tournament.
Big Ben.
He won the Japan Tennis Open in Tokyo, Japan, which was
his first major title.
Not only was it his first tournament, it's an ATP 500. So we're talking about a step below the Masters 1000 and the Grand Slam. So that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
A real big deal. And he had a good win, and hopefully the first of many in his career.
Yeah.
The win not only brings him to a career high of 15 in the world,
right,
but it also keeps him in the chase for the ATP Tour Finals.
Yes.
I believe he didn't play in the
next gen.
No,
he did not.
Because he was still
now,
in college.
He could still qualify for next gen. Yeah,
but
because he's only 21.
Right.
So unless he gets in the WTA, of course, then that's all.
Yeah. Well,
hey, that next gen would be great too.
Right, because he gets to play the top players that
in his age
he'll
range
be competing against, and we know
Holger Rune. I don't know if he's still there.
Sinner.
That's a lot
have also played in there, and they've done well. So
a lot of great young talent.
We wish Ben all the luck. So hopefully, he continues with his success.
Yeah, just
also, I'm sorry, you did.
No, I was just saying that was. Yeah, I just conferred. That was an excellent win for him. And I think he pulled out a lot of matches where he lost the first set and came back and won. And those pressure points. There's certain things you look at players, and like we can't. Anything can happen after tomorrow. But right now, the path he's on and how he played those matches, those tough points, and still came out. You kind of we're watching him grow and develop slowly, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah. Sort of like your girl Coco.
Yes, much like Miss Golf. I'm telling you, yeah. So it's got a lot to look forward to in the future. It's going to be great.
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah. Another notable player that we've been rooting for, Gael Monfils. He became the oldest champion in the history of the BNP Paribas Nordic Open in Stockholm.
How long has it been since his last title?
It's been a while.
Yep.
He's been injured the last 2 years. Getting back, his ranking was in the mid 100s in the world, which we know he's a better player than that.
Yes.
But now, because of this win, this indoors win in Stockholm, he's now back in the top below 90. So he's he won't have to really worry about using those wild cards going forward. So that's
and I think
that's his 12th tour level victory. So that's
awesome. Well, and we're happy. I'm always happy to see him do well in the tournament. And I felt like he's the type of player, he has with all the talent, and people are always asking, why is he not won a major, or why he's not, I think if you ask Gal Monfils, he'll just say, you know what, I want to go out there and have fun and play. I think it's important. I think he would love to go deep in a Grand Slam, especially in Paris.
Yeah.
That would be phenomenal. But I think for him, I think he enjoys his life now. He's a dad, husband, and a beautiful little daughter. And so I think his priorities, may have shifted a little bit. And I think he goes out there and he enjoys himself.
Right.
He goes out there to enjoy himself, not to really prove anything. And that's good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. Everybody's different, and your approach to the game is all different. Each player has a different goal that they set for themselves or achieve what they want to achieve. And for him, I think if he never wins a Grand Slam title, I think he will hang his racket up, and he's fine.
Yeah.
We would like to see him win.
Absolutely.
Just personally.
I mean, by far, and that includes the great Novak and Nadal, he's still by far the most athletic tennis player I've ever seen.
One of the best, without a doubt.
So that says a whole lot.
Yeah, he can make magic on the tennis court. I've seen him hit shots that just defied logic.
I know. That's not the same game we play.
No, not at all. He's that dude. He's made of something else.
Yeah. Well, again, we congratulate him.
Yes.
And one last congratulations goes out to Arthur Fee, who another Frenchman.
There you go.
He got to the finals of the European Open, but he took second place to Alexander Bublik.
Right.
In Antwerp,
who's a
Belgium.
tough
player, definitely a tricky player.
Exactly.
Not only does he have a big serve and a big forehand.
Oh gosh, he can hit every shot in the book. It's just.
But you never know, especially when he is serving, he could hit you with 140 mile an hour ace,
yes,
and then catch you off guard and hit you with one of those underhand serves that will just piss you off.
Yeah, yes, incredibly talented. I'm, in a way, I'm happy for him because he's one of those pros that's been out there. He's always in the mix, but he can never get over that, that plateau. And I think he won a tournament earlier this year, I think, and so that's good for him in his career.
Bublik.
Bublik. He's a character on the court, and definitely. Just enjoy him. And he seems to be, win or lose, when he comes to the net, he's smiling and happy, and he's shaking his opponent's hands. And apparently, he's a very popular player there. And you just see that he loves playing the game, and so he's that type of person. You're happy when he wins. And for Fields, Arthur Fields. 19? Come on.
Yeah,
his future, his future is very bright. This young man is going to be something special. He played some tough matches throughout the tournament and came out of it. And I think this is everything for him now is just learning. Yeah. He's learning and processing and putting it all together. And, he's going to be another one to watch. And,
definitely. Again, we lamented a couple of weeks ago or earlier this year about the end of an era with Nadal and Roger, and now Novak getting I'm not saying Novak is leaving, but I'm just saying
jumping on you, man.
The three, the big three, are no longer the big three. Although Nadal looks pretty good in his comeback, his prep. He's already on tap to come back for Australia. But besides the point,
that's the next podcast we could get on Nadal.
So, but the future of tennis is far from bleak. We've got our number 2 player who Novak just supplanted after the U.S. Open win. And again, all the young players. Sinner's going to be there. Fee's going to be there.
Yep.
Our young Ben Shelton and and Sebastian Korda from the American side, they're going to be there.
Sure.
And the sport has been left in good hands.
Yep, so. Definitely. And I still think we still got that tier right above them. with Taylor Fritz, I think he's not the young player anymore, but he's still a young player who's his future's in front of him. And you can't forget Big Foe, Francis Tiafoe.
A whole host, Tommy Paul.
Yeah, Tommy Paul. Yeah.
Foe. Let's just talk about the tournaments of the week. On the men's side, we've got the Ernst Bank tournament in Vienna, Austria. It's a ATP 500 event where the defending champion is Danily Medvedev.
Yeah,
also sad to see not the great one Roger playing this, but of course now that he's retired, he's no longer dominating it because he's won this tournament 10 times. The Swiss indoors in Basel, in Basel, Switzerland, where FAA is the defending champion. Again, another ATP 500 level event. Yep. On the women's side, we've got a smaller event down in Tampico, Mexico. It's a WTA 125 event where the Alberto Tampico event, where the defending champion is Elisabetta Cocciarito. I can't pronounce her.
Yeah.
She's an Italian.
I know her well.
Yeah, I know her well. Yeah, Horatio, I know her well. I knew him well. So yeah, that's an event. And then there's another event in China, which for some reason I was under the impression that there's not going to be an event in China, but there is. And I know a couple of big matches are scheduled for tomorrow. So those are the things that are going on right now on the men's and women's side. But just to keep this kind of moving, so over the weekend, I was looking at some tennis films, and specifically I saw King Richard. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know, King Richard is the story of how Richard Williams took his young prodigy daughters from the juniors to the biggest pros on the women's side that we've ever seen. And again, we're talking about Venus and Serena. And the story of King Richard is really how he moved his daughters from Compton, LA, Compton, California, to the East Coast, where they went and got free room and board. Didn't play juniors at Richard's.
Yeah, he pulled them out of the juniors
at his behest, and went on to play their first event. Well, Venus played her first event in Bank of the West, in California, where she took out. She won her very, very first match as a pro, and then lost to the number one player at the time. That was Arantxa Sanchez-Vicario. Mm-hmm. So, and it just got me wondering, what other movies have we seen, or that you've seen that good or bad, that are out there in tennis?
Well, first of all, we'll come right back to King Richard, because that's we talk about what's good and what's bad,
right?
And so but tennis is a sport, of course, with worldwide popularity,
right?
And there are literally hundreds of tournaments played every year, and they take place during the year. And so when we talked about it, just on and on. So tennis has no real off season,
right?
And so many people watch the sport. So even with the best efforts out there, Hollywood has often found it difficult to capture that lightning in a bottle and create a movie or film that taps into what makes tennis.
Sure.
And we're talking about on that professional level, what makes this sport what it is. And so of course they would like to do that, because if they can, it would be, box office magic. And that's of course, that's what they're doing, because you want to make box office success so you can continue to make these movies and make that money. So they in doing that, to try to capture that worldwide appeal of tennis, it's been difficult.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
For us, we will watch a tennis movie because I watch a tennis. Anything that says tennis, I'm gonna watch it just to see what it is. And often, tennis players, when we watch these movies, we are often disappointed in the outcome.
We're the biggest critics.
Yeah, we're biggest critics, because we want to see what we see. We want to see our concept of what good tennis is. And I remember my wife, she was like, "Well, you just worried about the tennis." I said, "Yeah, because the movie's about tennis, so we want to expect you know, expectations." Exactly, you want some authenticity, and a lot of times, you know, there are very few really, really good actors who are also really good tennis players.
Yeah.
So then Hollywood, you know, you have to improvise. You got to try to make them look good, and you do that distance shot where they stick a pro in there to hit the ball, then they come up close on them. You know, that's not the same person that was hitting that ball.
Absolutely right.
And storylines also have been kind of, it's, you know,
kind of short.
Yes.
I mean,
just or non-existent in some cases.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were saying, to kind of stick tennis as a focal point in a Hollywood movie. Right. And make it entertaining where they can make money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been difficult.
Yes.
You know, King Richard is one of those that
one of the exceptions, I think,
did a good job.
Really did a good job.
But what other movies do you know of?
Well, I would just say we have to first qualify this by saying that we got to split up the types of films that there are, because you have the movies that are documentaries.
Sure.
You know, that tell the technical or tell about the lives of the players or that sort of thing, and then do it as documentary, which for, you know, a lot of times, and we'll talk about a couple of those documentaries, you know, if done well, to me, they're the better tennis movies.
They're definitely the better products.
Then you have the romantic sports dramas,
rom-coms.
the rom-coms, and we'll talk about one of those that I think you like, but I kind of didn't like. But a lot of people like that film, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then, but you know, and then you also have the suspense thrillers that have included tennis.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. And then so we'll talk about a couple of those. And we'll discuss some of the entries to determine if they are good, bad, or ugly. And our reasons why.
Okay, that's cool.
Our reasons why. And so you have something that you want to offer. Since you started off with King Richard, let's talk King Richard for a minute, because that is one of my favorite tennis movies. Okay, and it's a good movie to me. Let's throw out the disclaimer, man. I wrote a disclaimer for us.
Oh, you wrote a disclaimer?
Yes.
Okay, well,
just so anybody out there that knows more about movies than we do, and I'm sure that's like everybody. So I'm just going to put out the official, which side do they want disclaimer. The opinions expressed on this podcast reflect the personal and unprofessional opinions of myself and Ruffin.
I appreciate it.
And are just that, our opinions. We are not professional movie critics and don't claim to be.
Nope.
We are just a couple of tennis nerds who watch anything that has the word tennis in it.
And that's all that we are.
That's it.
If you're listening to this podcast, it's just our opinion.
Siskel and Ebert, we are not.
No.
So anyway, but let's go back to King Richard.
Right.
What made King Richard? And I'll tell you why it was such a good movie to me.
Well, to me, watching it over the weekend, King Richard, originally, you know, I was against watching the movie because I've actually met Richard Williams. You know, first of all, Richard Williams still alive.
Yeah. God, hoping he's doing well. He's having some health issues.
You know, he's had some health issues, but he's still doing all right. And one of the things that I didn't want to taint my opinion of, you know, me actually meeting the man was, he gave me the impression that he would talk to you honestly about his daughters. At the end of the day, his daughters were always the focal point. Mm-hmm. Now, in the movie, first of all, I did like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me a different spin. And I always knew that it was going to have a Hollywood spin, but it gave me a different spin. Number one, because it's a biopic done from the family's perspective.
Right.
You know, Venus and Serena had input into this film. I think they backed it. They were
I think they're producers there.
So
along with Will Smith and
Will Smith. So and it was the story was told from Richard's standpoint, that he knew and always knew confidently that his daughters were going to be great at the sport of tennis.
Yeah.
Because he and his wife, Orsine Price, were athletes themselves. So they had the genetic makeup. He figured, well, shoot, this is a way to make money and get out of what he grew up in, because he grew up with parents of a sharecropper.
Mm-hmm.
And he figured this is a great way for my kids to become comfortable beyond their means. So I thought that it was interesting because I didn't realize that I knew that the Williams sisters moved from Compton to
Florida.
Mm-hmm. Didn't realize that that Mackie was the one that really was the one that took them in.
Oh, yeah.
Rick
Macy.
Macy,
Rick Macy.
Rick Macy. So I thought I was under the impression it was more nomadic. But again, I never got that impression from him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just said, "Hey, my daughters are going to be the bomb, and
right.
That's all you need to know." You know,
right.
And I'm here to promote. You know, some people don't like Richard Williams because of the way he did things, but at the end of the day, they were still playing as of 2022 because of the way he introduced the sport to them.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he wouldn't allow them to play juniors. I mean, once Venus dominated California, there was no need.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a lot of truth to the fact that I think Venus and Serena might have gotten burned out, considering what you see in the latter stages of their career. They've had injuries throughout. Both of them have had injuries throughout their career, but they've persevered. They've always come back stronger with the same desire to be number one or to be the best that they can.
Yeah.
And that was really apparent from what you get from the movie King Richard.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 110% on your assessment of the film. What made the film work for me, outside of it's a tennis movie, but it's way more than a tennis movie. It's a movie about family, and it's a movie about a man and a woman. And let me just tell you that the problem, what surprised me of the film, you talk about what surprised you. Then I knew a lot. I knew about the Rick Macy thing, but what I didn't know is what a dominant role that Oracene played in the development of these girls, and that she was out there also helping to coach and do all these things, and she was organizing and keeping the household together and doing. She was really, so she's like we see her in the stands, you know. I never forget with the big hair and stuff, and she's she's sitting there, but she actually is like the hero to me. She is like the other hero in this movie, and that. What she did and what, how she kept Richard in check, and let him know that, hey, you didn't do this by yourself.
Right.
This was, I bought into this dream with you, and I put my, and I can't forget the name of the actress that played her. She was a phenomenal actress, which came back to me, but she did such a great job in there. That was I just know it's Hippolyta from, just that plus the fact of family and we go into Richard's, he alludes to his background and how he was affected, his life growing up in the South, and you say a son of sharecroppers and just dirt poor, and the racial component, racism that he had to endure. But he never, like you said, I think the good point you said, that these girls, no matter what they went through, they endured it and they kept on going. And I think that's expressed in the movie that Richard, he endured a lot. And,
of course.
And what I found out, I remember reading an article about that, that Venus and Serena, were the final products.
Right.
But he had other children that were prototypes, and whether that's true or not, y'all can let us know. But that's what I had read, that, that he had tried with his other children, some of his older kids, and just didn't. But with Venus and Serena, he found, they found lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Let's understand that. And I applaud him for having a dream.
Yeah.
And having it and sticking to it, and it manifests for them. And there are a lot of other things. I mean, in his life, there were problems. Oracene had to leave him, and there are a whole lot of other things. But within the structure of the movie, because in real life, in the Hollywood thing, the film works for me on that level, and that the tennis worked, and I was amazed at how they made them look like their strokes and everything.
The young lady that plays Serena,
she
can hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but here's the thing, Ruffin, I found out that these girls really didn't play tennis.
Right.
That they worked with them, and I was like, wow, you know,
but
they looked, you know, and I guess there's some movie magic in there as well,
Sure.
but they made it work.
Oh, yeah,
right?
it looks
they made
real
it work.
to me.
It looked real, and they emulated and modeled how they probably would have looked as juniors playing young, you know, and it was amazing.
And if you know, just to be technical, if you look at the young actresses that play Venus and Serena, they had the mannerisms, especially from a stroke production wise. You look at the way that the young lady that plays Venus, since she was the focal player on the court in the movie, the way that she articulates her wrist for her backhand. And at first, in the early parts of the movie, if you know how Venus serves, her serve is a little disjointed. Well, when she plays in the Bank of the West, you can clearly see that's how Venus actually serves. She puts her left hand up first, and then she tosses the ball. So you can see that they got most of the technique and the cinematic magic of them replicating actual sports players. Right. I mean, and I was amazed at that. And I hear that there are a couple I'm going to talk to you about something that's also coming up in the near future, where they say the actors that are being portrayed in a future movie, they actually are tennis players, or they mimic playing tennis players.
Okay.
So that's going to be interesting. Yeah. But go on.
Yeah, no, that was the film worked on so many levels for me, and I'm just sorry that you know the little controversy with Will Smith, because his performance I thought was great.
Absolutely.
As Richard Smith, he really he captured him, but that element of that background where we get in that background story of his life, his hard life, and it is, and it makes you, you know, but you know that what they were constantly doing was they were creating these young ladies to become these leaders, you know, and they saw them, and all of them were successful on some level, you know, and but they played an integral part in how they raised them in an environment that was, you know, trying to pull them away, but they held them together. And, you know, some of the things were, you know, they say a lot of the scenes were created was Hollywood magic. It didn't really happen, but the gist of the story was all there. And so hats off. That was, you know, to me, one of the better tennis movies I've ever seen.
Okay.
So I'm satisfied.
So you're satisfied
for that one. Yeah.
So give me a movie that you did not like.
All right. Well, we're going to have, I know this one you kind of like, but it just didn't. I mean, and that was Wimbledon. 2004 movie, and had your boy, was it Paul Bettany? Bethany. And
for those of you that don't know and like Marvel movies, that is Jarvis or Vision.
Right,
so,
right. That's right. And Kirsten Dunst. Yeah. Now, it was to me, I just felt it was kind of contrived. I mean, we'd seen this movie before. They just stuck it they stuck it in a tennis environment, and this guy, you know, he plays this kind of tennis player who's on the end of his career. He's been like a journeyman. He had a couple good, and then Kirsten Dunst is this, you know, little ingenue, well, you know, young superstar, rising star tennis who, and all the pressure, and they find each other, and of course they, you know, they have this relationship and all, and he has this last big you know, finale to
happy
his
ending.
Yes, yeah, and so I don't know, you know, and their tennis was.
Oh well, yeah.
I mean, they had some,
really
but they had some pros in there doing some cameos and stuff to try to legitimize it. But hey, I don't. I mean, you know,
you can see.
I watched it when I saw Wimbledon. Ooh, I want to see this, and I was watching. I was like,
what?
Okay, now, Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 70.
Right.
So I mean, apparently it was. Once again, I'm not a film critic, so I don't know my knowledge, but apparently, you know, they gave it some. There was some technical things on there that they felt made it one of the better tennis movies. Just for me, I didn't really.
Well, I guess the storyline.
It just wouldn't hold me. It didn't hold my attention. And you know, tennis.
Right.
I just okay. I kind of know what is going to happen here. I don't know what this movie's going to be about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, the storyline had the backdrop of tennis, but it's still a romantic comedy. That's all it is. You know, with the main antagonist is. You know, a retiring or pro who has lost his ambition. He's trying to get out. He's actually announcing his his retirement at Wimbledon.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this young lady catches his eye and, throws him off, throws him a curveball. And what do you know? She inspires him to be a better person and to continue his career and at least make one last hurrah at Wimbledon. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, but more or less, I liked it because I like some of the actors playing. But yeah, you're right. The movie as itself is a lot of fluff. So if you like rom-coms, sure.
Right. Yeah,
Wimbledon is not bad with the backdrop of tennis.
That's right.
And, the All England Club.
Exactly.
But as far as the technical aspects, no. The Paul Bettany and Kirsten Dunst are by no means tennis players, and
no.
you will not get that confused.
No, it looked like, oh, come on, really? No. Okay.
No, I know.
But hey, like I said, a lot of people said it was a decent movie. So probably know more than I do, but I'm just going by my own thing here. So
yeah, I got a few others, but
okay.
I'm just going to try and keep it short.
All right.
So there was one other very intriguing film that I looked into, didn't get a chance to see all of it, but it's called Match Point.
Match Point.
And it's more of a thriller, more of a suspenseful kind of romantic moral concept kind of thing, where you've got another retiring pro who he's ending his career, and because he doesn't know exactly where he wants to go, he ends up he was thinking he's going to become a touring teaching pro, and he makes a friend giving a lesson, and all of a sudden they bring him into this upper echelon crowd. The friend's sister ends up
they get engaged.
They get engaged. They actually get married. But then he meets his friend's other girlfriend,
the hot American.
Yeah, a hot American,
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, Scarlett. Yeah, hey, if you're gonna have a hot American, anyway. They become entwined.
Right.
Speaking of Will Smith, entwined.
Yeah.
But that, without spoiling the movie, it ends up being a moral conflict that they have. And that ends up being an intriguing film. I need to watch the rest of it.
Okay, good. I was going to say, if you not watch the rest of it, when you watch the rest of it, it'll come back. Because I'm not even going to spoil it either. I want you to see that film, because then you're going to be like, at the end, you're like, what? Yeah, I know. All right, but anyway.
But there's some things that it's a good film. But it's one of those that, again, tennis is the backdrop, but it's got moral
and actually how much
implications.
And how much tennis did you see in that movie?
Yeah,
that
really
was a
did.
letdown too.
They
allude to tennis, but you never see. You saw him with a tennis bag,
right? You saw him with the tennis
bag.
But
he had like this.
The beginning, and even in the intro, you just see a ball going across the tennis net, and it hits the tape. And you see another ball going across the tennis, and it hits the tape, and he talks about.
And this film was made but Ruffin. This film was made like in 2005 or 4 or something. Did you see the tennis bag he had?
I know.
It's like a tennis bag from like 1970. Come on, no, and you're supposed to be a good quality tennis player,
a pro. So
you're a pro. Okay, all right, bro, I got you.
But it's supposed to be a good film.
I got you.
I mean, it drew me in.
Okay,
but
well, it did. The story, it's kind of Hitchcockian. It's kind of Hitchcock kind of thing, thriller, which alludes to another movie that was a Hitchcock movie from the 50s. That we, it was, and that one was, man, it went all over the place. I'm trying to think of the name of it now.
Hold on, give me a second. It was
where it had.
It was Strangers on a Train.
Yeah, Strangers on a Train.
Yeah,
and this one went all over the place, man. That movie was kind of scary in a way. These guys who were tennis players and everything, and involved in that upper echelon life, because this movie was made before there was a ATP or WTA Pro Circuit. This is back when tennis players were tennis bums and they would go around and travel around Barnstorm to make $1, but they were all rich, so they could still live a good lifestyle even. And tennis was like a hobby. They got to travel because they had the means to do it, but they didn't. Their livelihood didn't really depend on it. And but then you get this whole thing, and there's the whole kind of he and this other guy, and what was their relationship like, and that was that was a bizarre film.
Yeah, so I mean, Match Point was a Woody Allen film, and that was kind of his vehicle into that kind of because of course Woody Allen films are kind of quirky and kind of comedic, and this one really wasn't comedic except for some of the lines, but it's one of those other quote unquote tennis movies.
Yeah.
And then you have the others like true documentaries. We mentioned We're from Richmond, Citizen Ash.
Numero uno, baby. Yep. That movie was incredible.
An incredible. It's a CNN film,
right? But
it's not a Hollywood film. It's more about the life of Arthur Ashe and some of the struggles that he went through, and not only that, how he was so much bigger than not bigger than the sport of tennis, but how he was interested in being a citizen of the world. And that's the thing.
And he used tennis as the he knew tennis was going to be that vehicle. Right. So yeah, I highly recommend, if we could recommend any one film, would be it. That's the one. Please go watch that film. Right. It was, to me, I would say it's the top of the list of tennis films I've ever seen. I enjoy watching.
Yeah, definitely. And much better than, not to say that this was bad, but Battle of the Sexes about Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King.
Yep. Good film. That was, man. And Steve Carell.
Right. He was
Bobby
amazed.
Riggs. He was Bobby Riggs. It was just, that was, I enjoyed that film. I thought it was, and for you and myself, we were around when that was happening. I mean, that was to me, it represents my beginning in the sport of tennis. I mean, I at 11 or 12 years of age, we're watching this thing go, and it was just a phenomenon, and it created the tennis boom in America.
It definitely did.
If you all, too young to remember, there was a tennis boom in the mid 70s to the early 80s where, I mean, everybody was, oh my gosh, it was amazing. Right. I mean, and we had major stars, who were,
major American
stars. Yeah, we dominated, in the pro ranks. But and that movie just kind of brings back all those memories in that period of time, and with the outfits and stuff, and the crazy clothes that people were wearing back then.
I'm not wearing shorts right here.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. One of those Ted Tinlin dresses that all the women used to wear. They were crazy looking, man. But I agree with you. That was a good film. The tennis was
but again, it was about
it was about
Bobby Riggs versus Billie Jean.
Right.
So
that's
that really
73 match. And it was more about the two personalities and
the power struggle between men and women.
Yes.
Women looking for equal rights.
Yeah. And that they bring up the fact that when Bobby Riggs beat Margaret Court, who at that time was the number one women's tennis player in the world, and here this guy was a 50-some-year-old tennis hustler. Right. But now, don't get me wrong, everybody understand, Bobby Riggs was a good tennis player back in the day.
He was a professional.
Yeah, he's the only tennis player to ever go to Wimbledon, and he won the men's singles, the men's doubles, and the mixed doubles in the same tournament.
Yeah.
Okay, that gives you some. Now, that was back in the day. It was before there was open tennis.
Hold up now. I believe John McEnroe came close. Came close because he and his mixed doubles partner. I believe it's someone we hear nowadays. Mary Carrillo.
No, Mary Carrillo.
Because I know John won singles and doubles with his doubles partner, but I'm not sure if he ever won Wimbledon together.
I think Bobby Riggs, is still the only one.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, did Martina do it? I don't even know if Martina done it. If y'all know, somebody let us know.
Let us know. Check us out on that history.
But he was a born hustler because somebody said, I remember reading somewhere that he bet on himself that he was going to win all three.
Yeah.
And he goes over there and wins all three. And he wins like $150,000, $200,000, which was like millions today. It was like several. Yeah. So he was a hustler from day one.
Right.
That was I like that movie. I would go with that movie, even though the tennis was but the movie itself and the talking about the characters of those people and how they intertwine. And I think you hit the point on the head about women getting their credibility.
Right.
And when he went out there and beat Margaret Court, Billie Jean said, I gotta win this match because they're trying to get legitimacy.
Right.
And if we have a 50-some-year-old man, former pro, beating our top players, we have no legitimacy.
Yeah.
So she had to go out there and do what she did.
And she did it.
Yep, she did it.
Yep. And it was a huge televised event for the television of the day. In fact, it was played in the Astrodome.
Astrodome. Yep.
I mean,
Houston
that
Astrodome.
was one of the largest venues, period.
Yep. And they
let alone for
sold that
tennis,
joint out. Yep. But and then what happens after that? They get the women's tennis get a big old sponsor.
Right. From Virginia Slims.
Yep.
Yeah.
Philip Morris comes in there and that's it.
Yeah. And then and the rest is history.
Rest is history. Or her story.
Yeah.
her story.
Yeah. Her story.
Yeah. But I'm gonna just go one more that I really I didn't really like too much. And this was a movie I think it had the intention of, and some people said it was a good movie, but it was a movie that was made back during the tennis boom, and the movie was called Players.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a movie about the lifestyle. It was supposed to incorporate the lifestyle of the modern tennis player at that time, the jet set, all of this, and and it starred was it Dean Martin's son?
Okay.
I think he and this was, and he was an accomplished tennis player. Apparently, he was a pretty good tennis player, top, junior tennis player and everything. So he gave the tennis a little legitimacy. But the story was, when I watched it, and I hadn't watched it recently, but I remember watching it. I said, I heard about this movie Players, and it had big press when it first came out because and then they had some cameos from top tennis professionals. But then you watch the movie and like 10 minutes in the movie, you're like,
you're knocked
it
out.
was the storyline was kind of all over the place to me. It didn't really make sense. Some of the tennis was decent, but then some of the tennis was so-so. And I don't know. I didn't really. To this day, people say, "Oh, did you ever see that movie Players?" No one knows about the movie.
Yeah. Well,
for a good reason. It wasn't really that good a movie.
They need some. They don't need some part-time actors. They need a former tennis player who's a good actor, like I'm not gonna say your classmate, but you're one of your alumni.
Oh yeah, Boris Kudrow. Yeah, Boris played.
He could play.
Yeah,
he's still on the wall.
He's still on the wall of VCU. Yeah, and he was played with Serena and everybody. And everybody said, Boris could play. Yeah. And big, he looks like he keeps in good shape. So I'm sure he can still play because he'll go out there and practice and hit a ball. But yeah, he could do a movie.
Yeah, that would be great.
Hey, Hollywood, y'all get Boris in a movie. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. Well, Arthur Ashe, they still got to do that movie on his life. Right. I don't know.
Mine.
Well, I'm trying to see.
He's a little thick to be Arthur, though.
Arthur, you need a skinny person. Yeah, you're gonna need a slender, tall. Yeah, Boris has got. He'd have to lose some weight.
He'd have to lose
a lot and lose some of that bulk.
He'd have to go with some crap. I'm sorry. But
I don't know. You're right. But any event, but if they ever do Althea Gibson, I hope Venus Williams is getting her acting classes, her chops. Every time I see, I would say, well, it would take somebody because of her body structure and how she looks. She always reminded me of Althea, even though their games are not the same. Of course, Althea played back in the 40s and 50s, and she had that game, but that attacking style, that mentality, and I always said, man, Venus could play her. She'd have to alter her game though.
A little bit.
Got to get rid of the two-hand backhand.
Right.
She gotta,
and gonna have to put a wooden racket in her hand.
A wooden racket in her hands. Gonna have to learn, But anyway, that's I'm off topic on that one.
Well, that's all right.
So now we'll finish up a couple good movies now. Get back on those good movies because we could talk about the bad ones for days. But you mentioned the Battle of Sexes, which I thought another one that kind of covered that period of time, of course, was that I like was Borg versus McEnroe.
Right.
And that's a biographical sports drama, and that starred Shia LaBeouf. Yeah. And then they actually had a Swede play Borg, Severi Gudnason.
I'll let you handle that.
Yeah, Severi Gudnason, whatever. Correct me if But anyway, the movie, To me, I thought it was a good movie in the sense that it went into the two personalities, the divergent personalities that came together. That's what made that rivalry so good, is because you had these contrasting styles, contrasting personalities. I heard that McEnroe didn't like the way, now I could be wrong, but I thought I read somewhere that McEnroe really didn't like Shia LaBeouf, did not like his performance. And I don't even think he was really, I don't think anybody really talked to him, to McEnroe, about, and which he should have done. He should have, hey, John, you know, I'm playing you in this movie. Can I come hang out with you and kind of,
you know, get a little feel for who you are and how you.
Yeah, but he said, I think he just made him look like he was just crazy for no reason. There's no rhyme or reason. He's just a madman. Yeah, Hollywood. And
then you've got other biopics that are more documentary. You've got Strokes of Genius, which kind of delves into the relationship that Roger and Rafa have, and of course they talk about, again, back to Wimbledon. You know, their not only their rivalry but their epic match.
It all came to a head at Wimbledon.
I mean that's a great one.
That was a very good movie.
Yeah.
Very good movie. I remember I've only seen it once, but when I watched it, you're just spellbound. Yeah. And you relive, once again, you relive that.
The actual match.
You know, we were watching that movie, and that's before Wimbledon had the roof, and before so they're using the lights to keep it bright, and no one wanted them to stop playing. It was just too great.
And I always said Roger's complaint for that particular match at near the end was that he couldn't see the ball.
No, I'm like, literally couldn't see the ball.
On TV, it looks like, oh, there's plenty of light.
No. In the stadium, no. That was deceptive. You couldn't see anything. You're looking at the camera lights and stuff but on the court,
you could not see the ball. And to deal with Nadal's lefty spinning away from you, you could see why Roger would have difficulty. I'm not saying that he still would have won had there been more light. They should have suspended the match and played it the next day. It was not one of those things they did back then, because, like you said, before the roof. But had he had an opportunity, Roger still was number one. That was his court. That was Nadal's first Wimbledon.
He come back refreshed and energized
and attacking
and can see.
And can see.
But it was just, I think, unfortunately for him, if they'd have done that though, they wouldn't have made a movie about it. It wouldn't have been the drama. And I just remember at the end of the match, you know, and they're doing all the talking about the film, and they're just sitting there, and they're like, all of them are just sitting there. They're like, please get these guys. Let them go home. Let them go to the shower. Let them relax. You know, I know you want to talk about all of the sponsors have to get, everybody has to get in, but they're sitting there, you know, they are like,
they are done.
Worn out.
They are done.
That much tennis, you know, but excellent choice. Good film. That's one we would recommend too.
Yeah.
If you want to see, you know, if you're that one more, I would say King Richard, you don't have to be a tennis fan to enjoy that film. This one, you don't have to be, but you would enjoy it more if you're a tennis fan, I think.
Yeah,
you know,
because again, you could relive what you knew was a great event, regardless of whether it was tennis or not. And you understand just to the depths of who Roger and Nadal, and their, not only their rivalry, but their friendship.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So that's one of those things.
Yeah.
And I before we start wrapping things up for this episode, got to mention Breakpoint. The Netflix series.
Yes.
Now I've only seen one of and it's at least 2 seasons, but it delves into the lives of the top pros playing the top tournaments like the Grand Slams, and what it's like for them on a day-to-day basis to be a tennis pro.
Yeah.
That Netflix series is it's mirrored after the Formula One series, but now with tennis. So that's also another, not necessarily film, but a series of stuff that you can watch. About being what it's like to be on a tennis player.
I was enthralled when I watched it. I just sat and watched every episode. I couldn't stop watching it because, folks, it gave you an insight into the world of professional tennis that we don't get, that we don't see, and they take you inside, and we go into the relationships of the players, the highlighted players, and it talks about the pressure of playing at that level, what that means. You know, all of it is all encompass, and the effects. Remember, these people, we look at them as these superstars,
Right.
these bigger, larger than life superhuman beings, but they're not. They're human beings.
Yeah.
And we see them having breakdown and this and that. And they have all the human qualities that you and I and everybody else has. Unfortunately, they just also happen to have this super ability to play tennis at this extremely high level.
Yeah.
And that what comes with it, when you get all of these people together who have that, then you start, we've talked about in the past, what makes a Federer over, a Roger Federer over,
Andy Roddick.
or any other, Andy Roddick. Okay. Yeah. Good. Two good examples you used there. I mean, had there been no Roger Federer, okay, Andy Roddick we'd have talked about his 2 or 3 Wimbledon titles.
Right.
We'd have talked about, he would have had them.
At least one
U.S.
Open.
Yes, at least another U.S. Open too, exactly. But he would have had about 3 Wimbledon titles that were taken from him. He didn't give them up.
No,
Roger took them from him because,
especially that one that Roddick actually played him in the finals.
Oh, yeah. He played
and Roddick was playing the best tournament of his.
And everybody forgets that backhand volley that would have given him a break point. It would have put him up. Hey man, it's the game. But and Federer, to me, that was great because he's down, he got himself together.
Yep.
And don't give me that chance.
Because
once you give me that chance, all I need is one. But that's it. And what makes him what makes a Roger Federer be able to be that good at that level consistently? What makes a Djokovic be able to be consistently that good for so long? I mean, we had this period of time where no other player could break in. You talked about the top 3. You couldn't break in.
Yeah,
you couldn't get in there. These guys were stingy with the title, and they weren't giving them up.
Yeah,
and and it takes a mindset that you have to develop. And very few develop that mindset. Very few develop that skill set. Very few can make it. That's why we can count the Grand Slam champions of the past 20 years on what? We don't need all 10 fingers.
No, you're right.
We won't. It's just a select few. And
especially on the men's side. Now, on the women's side is different.
But but you're right. But you're right. A little more parity on the women's side. But for the men, they just put a lock on it. So this movie, this series, Netflix series, really went into that. I felt in a way I'd never seen done in a film before. I hope and pray that I heard they wanted to do another one, the 3rd season. That's it's been problematic, I've heard, but I hope they work out the nicks, that work out all the kinks, and that they're able to do it one more year, another one. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. As
tennis players,
it's fascinating to see the day-to-day ins and outs of what these pros go through.
Yeah,
and we can never really appreciate it until you see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, like you said, we could talk more about the good films and bad films.
Yeah.
In fact, for our audience, if you have some other ideas, please let us know.
Yep.
So send us your comments on some of the films that you've seen or some of the series that you know of, and let us know. Tennis Channel's, what is that? Breakpoint, what do they call it? It's like a minute tennis. I can't think of the name of it. It's on T2.
Right. Yes,
We'll
they have where they interview the player. That's great. They do a 2-minute interview, and they have the tennis pros, but they put them in a situation that they just get to be themselves.
Right.
And that's a great little segment. I enjoy that segment too. Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it.
And then the other one where they're on the guys on the cart, and they have them sitting on the cart and they're driving and talking on that's another good one too. The one with Coco Gauff was incredible. So it was very funny, very enlightening. But so we can continue this at another time.
Yeah, we're going to look at some more tennis films, and we'll come back to it in the future.
Maybe have
part 2.
A part 2, yep, and make our other recommendations that we think. And,
sure.
And then please, if you all if there's a film out there that you all enjoyed that has tennis, let us know. We'll look at it, check it out, and talk to you about it. Also, if there's some things that we said that you thought were totally ridiculous, let us know that too.
Yeah, that works. Definitely.
Give us the feedback. We want to hear what you're thinking about, and if there's some movie that, we totally blew that you think was a great film and I, talked about it in a bad way, let me know.
Yeah,
I like that. Maybe you can give me an insight that I didn't see when I watched it that one time.
Yeah. Just to add, there's one more tennis film that we know is coming out. It's called Challengers.
Yeah.
It's going to star Zendaya, who of Spider-Man fame, and she was also on Disney. Should be coming out. It actually was supposed to come out this fall, but because of the SAG
the
strikes, they pushed it back to the spring of 2024. So be on the lookout for that. Challengers is coming up. So so as before we wrap things up, let's talk about this week in tennis. So do you have anything? If not, I got something.
Go ahead, rock it, Ruffin. Let's see what you got.
Okay, so this week in tennis, it's not necessarily this week in tennis. October 15th, 1972, the 17-year-old phenom that we ended up knowing, Chris Evert, won her inaugural WTA Tour Championship, where she, of course, it would be in her backyard, Boca Raton, Florida, where she defeated Australian Carrie Melville Reid,
wow.
7-5, 6-4. And because she was at the time still an amateur, she couldn't even collect a paycheck.
Collect the money. Wow.
It was a small amount, but still, it was a paycheck. Ironically, 2 years later, October 19th, same week, 1974, she loses to Yvonne Goolagong, another Australian. Who won her first WTA Tour Championship, beating Chris Evert 6-3, 6-4 in LA Sports Arena.
Wow.
So that's interesting. So that's what's happening. That's what happened this time.
Chris America
in this week in tennis.
Yeah.
That's
real. I'm gonna tell you, Chris. They call Chris America. God bless her. She's fought off breast cancer, and we wish her all the best, man. What a ambassador for this sport she has been. And we've seen her from, I remember when she was, like you said, a little teenage phenom
with pigtails.
With pigtails coming out and playing that. Clay, let me tell you, if there's ever a queen, if there was a female equivalent to Rafa, it was Chris Evert on clay. Yes, man.
She did not lose.
How many French Open titles did she have? And she didn't have as many as Rafa.
No,
but she had a boatload of them. And that style, she grew up on that clay in Florida, and her dad was instrumental. He was a coach out there and had all them kids out there playing. But yeah, she's a phenomenal ambassador for the sport. Yeah. A lot of times people, for her commentary and stuff, but that's what she gets paid to do.
Right.
And her knowledge is, off the charts.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you brought that little thing up. She's somebody that, we Hall of Famer without a doubt. She was the first ballot Hall with who would have voted against her. And so she continue to represent the game well as a commentator and everything. And her academy, she has a tennis academy out there too, Chris Evert Academy, that's produced some really nice professional players out there and continues to get those kids out there playing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, more power to her. And I kind of like the blonde hair too.
Yeah. The long blonde pigtail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they call her Chrissy America.
No, I meant the platinum blonde that she changed to.
Okay, new styles. Yeah, it's brand new. Yeah. I didn't even notice that, but yeah, Jake.
So that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. So again, if you like what we're talking about, we're trying to be a little different. So continue to follow us on Instagram and on X. And on Facebook once we finally get out there. And hit Spotify. That like button down at the bottom. And again, if you have any comments, just let us know. You can always hit us up and we'll respond. So again, thanks again for letting us share our thoughts about tennis films. And as we always say, Coach,
go ahead and hit some tennis balls.
Go hit a tennis ball.